The world had gone silent. Even the wind seemed afraid to move. The last trace of sunlight had vanished behind the clouds, leaving only the pale shimmer of auroras across the Arctic night. Elara Voss stood at the ridge, staring at the triangular structure now embedded in the ice below. It pulsed with a rhythm, soft, deliberate, alive. She took a single step forward. Her breath fogged, her heart pounding as the mark on her wrist responded again, faint golden light, pulsing in perfect sync with the craft. Then, the silence shattered. The low thrum of rotors rolled through the valley. Elara turned. Over the jagged horizon, 3 dark shapes emerged, military-grade VTOL transports slicing through the cold air. Their lights cut across the tundra, sweeping over the alien wreck and her frozen silhouette. She raised her hand instinctively, then hesitated. Who were they? After a week of isolation, any human presence felt both a relief and a threat. The aircraft landed in a staggered formation. Soldiers in insulated tactical suits poured out, weapons up, moving in silence. Among them, one figure in a long gray parka walked with authority, a man whose every step seemed measured. He stopped a few meters from her. Dr. Elara Voss. His voice echoed through the helmet intercom. She nodded, her voice weak. Yes, I'm... He lowered his hood. A pale face with sharp eyes. Colonel Nathan Hale. We've been tracking your signal since the magnetic storm hit. You're lucky you weren't vaporized. Depends on your definition of lucky, she muttered, glancing at the glowing fortress half buried in the ice. Hale followed her gaze. His jaw tightened. That thing wasn't on our satellites 2 hours ago. It wasn't anywhere, Elara said quietly. It came through the clouds, like it wasn't falling, but choosing where to land. He gave a short nod. Then we're dealing with something controlled. Behind him, a second figure approached, a woman in a frost-covered science suit, visor cracked. Colonel, we've set up perimeter scanners. But they're fluctuating. Every time the pulse hits, it scrambles our instruments. Of course it does, Elara said. It's broadcasting. The woman turned to her. Broadcasting what? Elara hesitated. Not a message, a frequency. It's syncing with something. Maybe the planet's core. Maybe us. A silence passed, heavy, uncertain. Then the ice below trembled. The soldiers froze. Snow cascaded down from nearby ridges. From beneath the translucent ice, lines of light began to spread, geometric patterns, like veins of molten gold winding outward from the fortress. Back! Hale shouted. But Elara stepped forward instead. She watched as the patterns converged around her feet, pulsing with the same rhythm as her wrist. The light responded, to her. Dr. Voss, the colonel barked. Step away. I can't, she said softly. It's reacting to me. The ground split open with a deafening crack. A burst of steam exploded upward. The fortress shifted, rising slightly from the ice as if awakening. The soldiers aimed their weapons, but Hale held up a hand. Hold fire. Elara's heart pounded. Inside the glowing fissure, she saw movement, liquid light swirling, reforming. The mark on her wrist burned brighter. Then a voice, faint, mechanical, but distinctly human, echoed through the valley. Signal confirmed. Sequence initialized. Everyone froze. Who said that? Hale demanded, spinning toward his comms officer. Is that coming from the fortress? No transmission, sir, the soldier stammered. That came from her. All eyes turned to Elara. Her wrist was glowing so intensely now that it illuminated her face. She looked down, trembling. The mark had spread, fine golden lines tracing up her arm like veins. Dr. Voss, Hale said slowly, what exactly did you find out here? Before she could answer, the ground shook again. This time it didn't stop. Chunks of ice rose from the ground, levitating a few inches in the air, rotating slowly, as if gravity itself was being rewritten. The fortress emitted a deep, resonant hum. The auroras above twisted into a spiral, directly above them. The pulse quickened, boom, 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 like a heartbeat. The scientist beside Hale shouted, It's building energy! We have to move. But Elara stared at the fortress. No. It's not building. It's listening. Hale's expression darkened. To what? She turned toward him, eyes wide. To whoever's answering back. And then, the hum stopped. For a moment, absolute silence. Then, in the distance, the horizon lit up. A faint golden beam shot up from far beyond the ice shelf, thousands of kilometers away, piercing the clouds. Another answered it. Then another. Within minutes, 7 beams had erupted around the visible horizon, all converging skyward into a single swirling vortex of light. Elara whispered, "Oh my God! There are more!" Colonel Hale tapped his comm. "Command, this is Unit Theta. Confirm visual contact on 8 luminous vertical formations. Request satellite verification immediately." Static. No response. "Command," he repeated. Elara shook her head. "You won't reach them." He glared at her. "Why not?" "Because the signal isn't just broadcasting." She looked up at the swirling lights above. "It's replacing everything else." A low-frequency tone rippled through the ice, vibrating through their bones. The fortress flared again, not brighter, but clearer. For the first time, they could see its surface, covered in inscriptions, symbols shifting like living metal. One of the soldiers whispered, What is that thing?" Elara's voice was barely audible. "A translator. Or a gate." The ice beneath them cracked, this time splitting into concentric rings around the fortress. The central spire began to rotate, lifting a few meters into the air. A faint human silhouette flickered in the light, tall, translucent, almost angelic in outline. Every gun went up. Elara raised her hand. "Don't shoot." The light figure turned its head. No eyes, no face, yet it looked directly at her. Then, in perfect English, it spoke. "You opened the first path. The others will follow." The figure dissolved into mist. The fortress went dark. For a long moment, no one moved. Only the sound of cracking ice and distant wind. Colonel Hale turned to Elara, his voice low, controlled. "What the hell does that mean? The others will follow?" Elara looked at the darkened horizon, where the golden beams still burned through the clouds. "It means," she whispered, "this wasn't an arrival, it was an invitation." Snow drifted silently over the ruined camp. The fortress had gone dormant again, cold, dark, as if it had never moved. But the mark on Elara's wrist still pulsed faintly, and the world around her no longer felt the same. She stood near the edge of the fissure, watching steam curl from the cracks in the ice. The silence felt unnatural. Every sound, her boots, the crunch of snow, echoed longer than it should have, as though the air itself had thickened. Behind her, Colonel Hale barked orders. "Seal the perimeter. No signals in or out until I say otherwise." "Yes, sir." The soldiers moved quickly, erecting signal dampeners around the site, but every device they turned on flickered and died, its power drained in seconds. "It's useless," Elara said quietly. "Whatever that thing is, it's drawing energy. Probably from everything around it." Hale glanced at her. "Then we adapt. That's what we do." She admired his composure, the way he never looked afraid, even when the world was tearing itself apart. But under his calm, she saw tension, the same silent disbelief she felt herself. The scientist from earlier, Dr. Miriam Keene, joined them. Her visor was cracked again, this time from the shockwave. "Colonel, we've run preliminary scans. The composition of the ice has changed. The molecular structures." "Changed how?" Hale cut in. "It's reorganizing itself. The hydrogen bonds are forming geometric lattices. Like the ice is responding to the signal." Elara's gaze drifted toward the fortress. "It's terraforming. Or preparing something." Hale's radio crackled, faint static, then a voice, barely audible. "Command to Theta Unit, do you copy? Repeat, global emergency, 7 additional contacts confirmed, energy pillars, total blackout." Then silence. Hale's jaw clenched. "Repeat transmission," he said. "Nothing but static." Elara turned to him. "The other signals have gone active, haven't they?" He nodded grimly. "All over the planet." In the Atacama Desert, a mining crew stared at a new structure that had risen overnight, a monolith of black crystal humming at a low frequency, the sand around it turned to glass. In the Himalayas, satellites caught footage of avalanches cascading from every peak as golden lines traced through the snow like veins of light. In Tokyo, power grids surged with energy before collapsing completely. Cameras captured only one thing before dying, a flash of symbols, identical to those on Elara's wrist. And above it all, every global communication network, internet, radio, satellites, flickered with the same strange phrase embedded in digital noise. Back in the Arctic. Miriam pulled off her gloves, hands shaking. Echo protocol. That was a deep space research term. It refers to synchronized transmissions between unknown sources. Elara frowned. Except this isn't unknown anymore. It's deliberate. Hale crossed his arms. Explain. She turned toward the fortress. When I touched the ruins, I triggered something. It wasn't random, it was targeted. The mark on my wrist. It's a key. A genetic identifier, maybe. These signals, all 8, they're linking together, forming a network. So what happens when they finish linking? Hale asked. Elara hesitated. They stop broadcasting. Why's that bad? Because then they'll start receiving. That silence again. Heavy, suffocating. Even the snow seemed to slow in the air. Suddenly, one of the soldiers shouted from the ridge. Movement. South quadrant. Everyone turned. Through the blowing snow, a figure stumbled toward them, wrapped in frost, moving stiffly. The searchlight cut across his face, revealing pale skin, eyes rolled back white. Medic! Hale yelled. The team rushed forward. 2 soldiers grabbed the man, hauling him into the shelter. He collapsed, trembling violently, mouth twitching as though trying to speak. Elara knelt beside him. Hey, it's okay. You're safe now. His lips moved. Barely a whisper. It called me. Her blood ran cold. What did? He looked at her, or through her, eyes unfocused. The light. It was inside my head. It showed me the pattern. Then, without warning, he convulsed, body arching backward. The skin on his neck glowed faintly, tracing golden veins identical to Elara's mark. Back. Hale ordered. The man gasped, then went still. His eyes opened one last time, glowing gold, before dimming completely. The pulse from the fortress began again. Low, slow, like a heartbeat. Elara's mark flared in response. She clutched her wrist, wincing. It's sinking again. With him. With all of them. All of who? Hale asked. She turned to him, her face pale. Anyone the signal touched. The fortress speaks. The air grew denser, vibrating like sound trapped in matter. Then the voice returned, not from her wrist this time, but from the air itself. Phase 1 complete. Awaiting confirmation from designated host. Everyone froze. Hale looked at Elara. You're the host, aren't you? I didn't choose this, she said. It chose me. The ice around the fortress began to shift again, cracks forming patterns, symbols that glowed like circuitry. The monoliths across the world were synchronizing, their pulses aligning with the Arctic fortress, counting down. Dr. Keene whispered, It's a countdown, isn't it? Elara nodded. Phase 2. Phase 2 of what? She looked up at the swirling auroras, now perfectly symmetrical, forming an enormous ring across the sky. The awakening, she said. Somewhere in a military control center, deep underground, screens flashed erratically. A general stared at one of them as words scrolled across in multiple languages, none of which the operators recognized. Transmission source. Unknown. Signal integrity. 99.87%. Phase 2. Commencement in 12 hours. A 12-hour countdown. The world's largest defense systems, from NORAD to the EU Space Command, went dark one by one. And on the surface, across oceans, deserts, and mountains, the 8 beams pulsed in unison, each heartbeat louder than before. Hale watched the timer projected on his wrist pad glitch and reset. 12 hours until what? Elara's voice was low, almost lost to the wind. Until whoever or whatever sent this signal arrives. The fortress flickered once more, casting long shadows across the ice. Then, from far above the clouds, something massive shifted, Too slow to be thunder, too deep to be wind. The aurora brightened, revealing silhouettes, structures, descending through the upper atmosphere, visible only for a moment before vanishing again. Elara whispered, "They're already here." Hale turned to her sharply. "Then we need to prepare for contact." She met his eyes, the golden light in her wrist pulsing faster. "Colonel, we're not preparing for contact." He frowned. "Then what?" "We're preparing for assimilation." The fortress gave one final pulse, and every device, every light, every radio in the camp went dead. The world fell silent again. The light died. No sound. No motion. Just blackness so complete that it felt alive. Dr. Elara Voss froze, every instinct screaming that something was still there, not just the absence of power, but presence. The hum that had haunted the air since the fortress awoke was gone, replaced by a suffocating stillness. Colonel Hale's voice broke the dark. "Headlamps!" "No." A dozen beams cut through the air, shaky, narrow. Snow particles glimmered like dust in the shafts of light. "Systems are fried," said Dr. Keene, staring at her dead tablet. "EMP." "No, stronger. It burned the circuits clean." "Get backup power from the auxiliary sled," Hale ordered. "And find out why the temperature's dropping." One of the soldiers swore. "Sir, it's falling fast, -60 and dropping." Elara shivered. The air felt heavier, sharper. Her breath fogged instantly. She glanced down at her wrist. The golden mark no longer glowed, but it was warm. Then she noticed the snow. It wasn't white anymore. The flakes falling through the headlamp beams shimmered faintly, like fragments of glass catching firelight. "What the hell is that?" someone whispered. Elara reached out. A flake landed on her glove. It didn't melt. It pulsed, once, then faded. "It's not snow," she said softly. "It's residue. The air's saturated with ionized particles. The fortress is still active underground." Hale frowned. "Underground?" "The pulse wasn't just above us," she said. "It went through the ice. There's something beneath this structure, something buried." Before he could respond, the ice groaned, deep and guttural, like the sound of the earth itself straining. The ground beneath their feet vibrated. Headlamps flickered. "Everyone move!" Hale barked. "Fall back to the transports." But the transports were gone. The open landing zone where the tolls had sat minutes earlier was now a hollow depression, empty, rimmed with fractured ice. Their tracks ended abruptly, like the machines had sunk without a trace. Hale stared, jaw tight. "They were right here." "Colonel," said Keene, voice trembling. "Look." She pointed toward the crater. A faint, golden shimmer rippled across the ice. Not light, not reflection, but movement. Something flowed just beneath the surface, fast, liquid, alive. It darted toward them. "Back!" Hale shouted. The soldiers scrambled, boots slipping on the slick surface. Elara stumbled and caught herself on the edge of a buried crate. The shimmer stopped a few feet from her, circling, then vanishing. Her breath came fast. "It's reading us." "Reading?" Hale demanded. "Like it's scanning life forms. Assessing structure, energy output, everything." A sudden crack split the air. The ice near the fortress split open in a spiral, releasing a column of steam and light. Inside, something moved. Elara aimed her light at it, and froze. It wasn't mechanical. It was organic. A shape slowly lifted itself from the fissure, tall, slender, vaguely humanoid, but translucent like glass filled with liquid metal. It had no eyes, no face, but a faint pulse of gold glowed where a heart might be. One of the soldiers raised his rifle. "Permission to." "Hold fire," Hale snapped. "Do not engage." The creature stopped. Then, it mimicked their movement. Tilted its head, raised one arm, almost curious. Elara stepped closer. Her voice was barely a whisper. "It's not attacking." The golden veins on her wrist began to glow again. The creature reacted instantly. The same glow coursed through its chest. For a heartbeat, the rhythm synchronized, hers and its. "Dr. Voss," Hale warned. She ignored him. "It's communicating," Keene whispered. "With what language?" Elara turned her wrist toward it. Not words. Frequency. Pulse. The air shimmered between them, a soft vibration, like a chord struck in glass. The others flinched, but Elara didn't move. She felt it in her bones, recognition, distant but undeniable. Then, in the blink of an eye, the creature changed. Its body rippled, patterns forming beneath the surface, geometric lines that matched the same inscriptions carved into the fortress. It reached out, slowly, hesitantly, toward her. She reached back. Their hands nearly touched when a sound broke the stillness, a deep metallic groan from below. The creature jerked its head upward, as though hearing something they couldn't. Then it whispered, a sound like wind through stone. Awakened, too soon. It dissolved, vanishing into a mist that sank back into the fissure. Silence. Elara's heartbeat thundered in her ears. What did it mean? She said, barely breathing. Too soon for what? Before Hale could answer, the ice beneath them cracked again, this time deeper, spreading outward like veins of lightning. The entire valley trembled. Keen screamed, Colonel! The fortress is sinking. No, Elara said, eyes wide. It's descending. The ground heaved. The fortress, that massive, triangular structure, slowly tilted, its base splitting apart like unfolding petals. Inside, for just a moment, Elara saw light, not golden this time, but dark. Absorbing light, bending it. And something inside moved. Massive. Multi-limbed. Silent. The headlamps flickered out again. All they heard was the wind, and then, faintly, beneath it, a new pulse. Faster. Heavier. Like something enormous had just started breathing. The pulse came again, slow, steady, deliberate. It wasn't sound, not vibration. It was inside them, thrumming in bone and blood, pulling. Elara steadied herself against the icy wall as the fortress above continued to shift, its colossal plates folding inward with precise mechanical grace. The fissure below widened, revealing a spiral tunnel carved of black stone and alien metal. Steam rose in rhythmic bursts, as though the earth itself was exhaling. Colonel Hale's voice cut through the howling wind. Everyone stay sharp. We go down, not back. Whatever's happening topside won't stop. Dr. Keene hesitated. Sir, descending blind into a structure that's moving. Would you rather stay up here when it collapses? Hale snapped. Elara was already moving toward the edge, headlamp cutting into the abyss. We need to know what's calling it. The fortress wasn't built here. It was placed here, waiting for something. Hale gave a reluctant nod. Fine. Ropes and lines. Full descent. The team clipped in and began the slow rappel down the spiraling shaft. The walls shimmered faintly, like molten metal cooling. Symbols crawled faintly across their surface, patterns that reacted to light, shifting and fading as if alive. Halfway down, Elara's glove brushed one of the carvings. It lit up instantly, running down the wall in cascading waves of golden script. Dr. Voss, Hale barked. What did you? I didn't trigger it. It recognized something. The runes aligned, and for a heartbeat, Elara saw shapes, constellations, orbit paths, star maps, flashing faster than she could comprehend. Then everything went dark again. Keep moving, Hale ordered. When they reached the bottom, they found themselves standing on a circular platform suspended over a chasm of mist. The floor beneath their boots was metallic glass, transparent enough to reveal enormous structures far below. Towers, bridges, and pulsing nodes of light arranged in impossible geometry. Keene whispered, This isn't a base. It's a city. Elara knelt, touching the glass. No, it's a machine. Every structure below is connected like neural tissue. This whole complex is part of one consciousness. Meaning it's alive? Hale asked grimly. Meaning it was. A low hum began to fill the air, like distant thunder beneath water. The mist below stirred, parting slowly, revealing something massive rising beneath them. A column of light shaped like a crystalline obelisk, rotating gently, suspended by invisible forces. Symbols appeared across its surface, the same script she'd seen on her wrist. Elara stepped forward, drawn by an almost magnetic pull. This is it. The heart of the fortress. The obelisk pulsed once, a deep, resonant tone that rippled through their bodies. Lights flared along the distant walls, one after another, like awakening neurons. The fortress was waking up. Suddenly, Elara's earpiece crackled. "Colonel," came a soldier's voice from above. "You need to see this, the skies, changing." Static. Then silence. Hale looked up at the shaft, jaw tight. "We keep going. Voss, what's happening?" Elara stared at the obelisk. "It's not just reactivating. It's signaling. Something in orbit, maybe even further. Can we stop it?" She hesitated. "I don't think it's meant to be stopped." The hum grew louder. Lights raced through the tunnels branching from the chamber, each one leading into deeper blackness. The team's headlamps flickered as magnetic interference built. Then a shape appeared inside the obelisk, a faint holographic image. A humanoid figure, but not the same as before. This one was cloaked in light, surrounded by shifting patterns that looked almost like wings. Its face was expressionless, but its voice, when it spoke, was unmistakably ancient. "Children of Soul, you opened the wound again." Elara's breath caught. "Who are you?" "Caretaker. Architect. Memory of what remains." Hale stepped forward. "We're not your enemy. We're explorers." The figure turned slightly. "Explorers. Always the same word before the fall." Elara took a step closer. "What is this place? Why was it buried?" "To contain what you now awaken. The light you follow is not salvation. It is hunger." The obelisk pulsed, and the figure flickered. For a moment, Elara saw beyond it, an image of Earth, wrapped in a web of golden energy lines that connected to points far beyond the planet's orbit. A network. A map. A prison. Elara's mind raced. "It's linked to other sites." "There are more." The caretaker's voice softened. "There were 12. Now only 3 remain. When the last awakens, balance ends." "Balance of what?" Hale demanded. "Between light and the void." The lights dimmed suddenly, and the voice fractured like a fading signal. "You are not ready for the price." The hologram vanished. For a long moment, no one moved. The only sound was the slow ticking of melting frost. Keen whispered, "Did it say 12 sites?" Elara nodded slowly. "And only 3 still alive. Which means whatever destroyed the others." Hale finished for her. "Might still be coming." The floor trembled. The obelisk's glow intensified, beams of light shooting upward through the shaft. "The fortress is sending coordinates," Elara realized. "To the others. Can we intercept?" Hale asked. "Maybe," she said, pulling her dead tablet. Then, impossibly, it powered on, the screen flooded with alien code translating into Earth coordinates. Keen leaned over her shoulder, eyes wide. "That's South America. The Andes." Hale clenched his jaw. "Then that's where we go next." But as he spoke, the ground split again. The transparent platform cracked, spiderwebbing beneath their feet. "Move!" Hale shouted. The team scrambled as the platform gave way, collapsing into the chasm. Elara barely caught the edge of a support beam, dangling above the abyss as fragments of glowing glass rained below. Hale grabbed her arm, hauling her up just as the last section disintegrated. They fell onto solid ground as the chamber began to seal itself, the fortress closing like a mechanical iris. Elara looked back one last time, the obelisk still glowing faintly, pulsing like a heart. She whispered, "It's not done yet." Hale nodded grimly. "Neither are we." They climbed back toward the surface, unaware that far above them, in the frozen Arctic night, the aurora had changed color. No longer green. Now it burned gold.